the exploration of the hidden teachings of Jesus through the lens of Rudolf Steiner takes us on a profound and transformative journey. This is not merely about historical facts or religious doctrines. It is about uncovering a mystery that transcends time itself. The mystery of Golgotha and its vital importance to the evolution of humanity, the consciousness of the earliest humans. Steiner paints for us a fascinating picture of humanity's earliest state. He explains that in ancient times, people did not experience consciousness the way we do today. Instead, they lived in a dreamlike state of awareness, almost as if they were awake inside a living dream. In that condition, early humans could communicate directly with higher cosmic beings, spiritual entities who imparted wisdom and guidance. Yet their teachings were not focused on the mysteries of birth or death. They spoke instead of the great cosmic order, of existence beyond the physical realm. For these early humans, coming into life or leaving it were not matters of anxiety or great concern. If we compare this to modern times, it's like the difference between a child who lives without fear of tomorrow and an adult who, with maturity, begins to carry the weight of responsibility, uncertainty, and the awareness of mortality. Humanity as a whole passed from a kind of spiritual childhood into a more conscious adulthood, and with that, new questions and fears emerged, awakening to the mysteries of life and death. As human consciousness gradually changed, the focus shifted. What was once a vivid experience of the spiritual world became an increasing concern with earthly life. Birth and death began to appear as enigmas, confronting people with questions for which no clear answers had been given. This shift brought with it a sense of separation from the soul and the spirit. The cosmic teachers of old, who once guided humanity, had not prepared us to face these ultimate mysteries. It was as if we had received wisdom about the heavens, yet lacked the key to understanding the very beginning and end of our earthly existence, the coming of Christ as a turning point. It is precisely here that Steiner identifies the incarnation of Christ as a decisive turning point in human history. According to him, Christ did not come to remove every difficulty or grant humanity a life free of suffering. Instead, he came to reveal freedom, to show that our true essence is not confined by our physical bodies or by our earthly circumstances. In other words, Christ came to remind us that we are not merely human beings reaching for spiritual, but spiritual beings temporarily experiencing human life. By being born, living, suffering, and dying as a man, he united the divine and the human, and he gave us a way to understand the meaning of life and death more deeply. Think of the resurrection not only as a miracle within history, but as a living symbol, an event that testifies that death does not have the final word over the human soul. The mystery of Golgotha and resurrection. The mystery of Golgotha, the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, stands as the central event of this revelation. Through it, humanity received for the first time a true comprehension of the soul's immortality. Consider how, even today, when we lose someone we love, we instinctively reach for the idea that they live on in another realm. That longing, which appears in nearly every culture, gained an entirely new strength through the resurrection of Christ. For Steiner, this was not simply a historical episode. It was a cosmic event, an axis upon which the destiny of all humanity turns. The first Christians and oral tradition, in the earliest generations of Christianity, the teachings of Christ were not written down in the way we know them today. Instead, they were passed from person to person through living words, carried by the memory and presence of the risen Christ among them. Over time, however, this living spirituality became more institutionalized. Religion took shape in organized forms. in doctrines and external structures. And gradually, part of the original depth of these teachings became fragmented, diluted, or even forgotten. It is as though a mighty river, strong and unified at its source, branched into smaller streams, still flowing, but with less force than the original current. Body, soul, and spirit. Steiner emphasizes another crucial point: the transformation of the human body across the ages. He describes how the physical body became denser as humanity evolved, while the forces of death grew stronger. This meant that humanity's natural awareness of the immortal soul was overshadowed. The material world came to dominate our perception, making it harder to sense the eternal essence within us. We can see this in our own lives today. In the rush of work, obligations, and endless distractions, how often do we forget to nurture the soul? How often do we silence that inner voice reminding us of our deeper spiritual nature? Ancient wisdom and modern practices. Steiner draws an illuminating contrast between the practices of ancient yogis and those of modern times. The yogis of antiquity, he says, possess profound methods for perceiving spiritual reality. Through their harmony with nature and careful cultivation of the body's rhythms, they were able to access truths beyond the material world. Modern practices of yoga and meditation, while still valuable, often lack that same depth. At best, they provide brief glimpses into the spiritual, but not the sustained, transformative perception of the ancients. For Steiner, there are two genuine paths toward divine knowledge in the human soul: the path of imagination and inspiration, which opens a way to true spiritual intuition; the path hidden within earthly processes themselves, which reveals the spiritual dimension even in the physical and metabolic functions of our existence. The Christian sacrament of communion, for example, was intended as a bridge, a way to awaken in us the remembrance of the eternal soul during our earthly journey. Through ritual, humanity could rediscover its rightful place within the cosmic order, anthroposophy, and the understanding of Christ. In the 19th century, Steiner criticized the superficial theology of his day, which had drifted away from the living essence of Christianity. He proposed anthroposophy not as a new religion, but as a way to deepen humanity's understanding of Christ, an invitation to reconnect with the spiritual wisdom that had been veiled by time. Anthroposophy does not create dogma. It expands consciousness. It opens our awareness to perceive the soul's eternal reality and to grasp the true meaning of the Mystery of Golgotha, the central purpose of the Mystery of Golgotha. Ultimately, Steiner's message is clear. Christ's sacrifice is not confined to one belief system or religious group. It is a cosmic event that nourishes the soul of every human being from within. The central purpose of Mystery of Golgotha was to give humanity the strength to recognize that the soul remains untouched by death. The resurrection inaugurated a new chapter for the human spirit, allowing us to awaken to our eternal nature and to live with courage, meaning, and hope. What might appear as a religious story reveals itself, in this light, as a key to human existence itself. A reminder that despite suffering, loss, and the challenges of life, there is something within us that can never be destroyed. Steiner's insights encourage us not only to look outward for truth, but to journey inward. By contemplating the depth of birth and death, body and soul, the earthly and the divine, we uncover the path to freedom and inner strength. This is not a path of blind belief, but of conscious experience, an invitation to discover who we truly are. If this exploration resonates with you, and you want to keep diving deeper into the mysteries of spirituality, healing, and the wisdom that uplifts the soul, make sure to subscribe to The Healing Vibe. Together, we can continue unfolding these truths and awakening to the eternal within us.